So, thank you so much for your time, Robbie.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
I saw the performance at the Tonys,
Cool.
tribute performance.
Yeah.
How was it? It was wonderful. You starting the tribute part with dancing, and it was amazing. How was it? How was the experience for you?
Well, it's always an honor to be included in such a prestigious moment of the year for our theater community, and to get to be asked to tribute Anne Ryan King was beyond humbling. And as soon as I found out, I just started Googling all of her videos, all of her work. Just make sure you try and find like the essence. And you just want to pay homage to somebody who was such a big player in our game.
I see. Well, wonderful. So in Japan, An American in Paris, the Broadway version will be on screen from this Friday. And could you tell us how you became the crew of the Broadway version? Was there an audition, or was somebody calling you? Could you tell us the story, how it all started for you?
Yes. So I was a principal dancer at the New York City Ballet at the time. And Christopher Wheeldon, who's the director and choreographer of An American in Paris, he was actually a former dancer at New York City Ballet as well. And he's done a lot of choreography there. It's kind of where he got his start. And he came to a gala performance where we were tributing Fred Astaire, and I was tap dancing and on stage. And he comes up to me at the dinner afterwards and he says, "Hey, can you sing?" And I said, "Depends on who's listening." And he said, I'm working on a project. I want you to come and audition for me." So I was the first person. It was at the music director's apartment with him, Chris Wheeldon, and the book writer. And it was so scary. Because I work with Chris all the time, and so I was so nervous to actually sing. So I asked him if it was okay if I just faced the wall and sang. I couldn't sing in front of him, like face to face. And it must have been good enough because they invested in me and hooked me up with a great acting coach and a great singing coach. And it was about a year and a half before the first workshop of it. But there was like continuous auditions to see how my progress was going. Because, I'd been on stage as a dancer for 12 years, but never opened up my voice on stage. So it's like I have this comfortability on stage, but speaking is completely different, let alone singing. So I'll never forget, I went to my last audition, and the next day, I was in my dress rehearsal for The Sleeping Beauty at New York City Ballet as the Prince. And I came up in the intermission, and I got a voicemail, and it was from Christopher Wheeldon, and he said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I must have the wrong number. I'm looking for a Jerry Mulligan." He said, "Rob, the part's yours if you want it. We have a lot of talking to do. We have, talking about you leaving New York City Ballet, at least for a year." And it was a no-brainer for me. Like, I've always dreamt of being on Broadway, and it felt like such a seamless transition, and getting to open a brand new musical and have it be my first time on Broadway. It was like, are you sure? It's a lot of responsibility to put on one person, but I'm always up for the challenge. So we did a workshop, and then the following year we did another rehearsal period before we went to Paris to open at the Théâtre de Châtelet. And then it went to Broadway, and then London, and then all over the world.
So before you started playing actually in front of the crowd, did you see all the movie a couple of times or many times, or like did you see or did you learn something from Gene Carrey, the original version? How much of the movie version is in your play?
Well, what's fun about getting to tell this story today is that when they made the movie, it wasn't very far off from the war. And so it was kind of through rose-colored glasses, the subject matter, and it was it gave us a chance to turn up the heat a little bit and say, this is what people were going through. And how artists handle wartime and how they respond to it and how they try and cope. So our version is based on the movie for sure, but we were able to dial it up a little bit. And as far as Gene Kelly goes, he's the dancer who made me want to do what I do today. So I've studied his dancing my whole entire life. And, you know, of course, I watched An American in Paris a couple of times leading up to it. But I felt like I understood his essence and his athleticism as a dancer. And so it was, you know, not trying to live up to that, because there's no way you can live up to your idol. But you pay homage and respect, and you have to think, if he was in the front of the room coaching you, he'd say, you do your version. Don't try to be me. And so you take the mantle, you take the baton, and you keep it going. And so that's kind of how I took the original and made it my own, is hoping that if you were in the front of the room, he'd say, you do your version.
Nice. What was the fun part doing it, and what was the hard part doing it?
Well, the hard part, let's start with the hard part first. So when you're at New York City Ballet, you do a full-length ballet maybe like twice a week, and it's the other cast who will do, you know, the other performances, because it's just so hard on your body. And this is a full-length ballet. There's so much dancing in it. There's a big ballet at the end, and so it was a real. I had to find a strategy of how to keep my body in tip-top shape and not injured. And I would stand in an ice bath. I would be in a big barreled trash can full of ice.
Wow.
Every show up to like my mid-thigh. Because if I didn't, my legs felt like sausage links. They felt like swollen.
Right.
And I felt like if I could just get new blood into that area as fast as I could, I would be quicker to recover between each show. And then I had an inversion table where I would hang upside down because the floor wasn't sprung. I was like, if I do this show 8 shows a week, I will, you know, and I don't do these kinds of measures to take care of my body, I won't be able to dance after this. So
wow.
It was a real game figuring out how to manage my physicality. The best part about it was everything else. It was to get to play and sing and act and with your friends, and the backstage antics, playing jokes on each other, scaring each other backstage. Like, there's so much fun that happens in a show, and there's so much fun that even happens off stage in the show. It's an honor to be a part of a community of storytellers and people who like to create magic on stage. So, I mean, also you have Gershwin's music, which is
right.
I think a testament to good music is how many times you can hear it over and over again without getting sick of it. I could hear that music forever. I never got sick of it once.
So that means you became really good friends with your, you know, with the cast. Did you share any stories, you know, that really happened off stage, or some fun stories or really interesting stories that you can tell?
So when we were in Paris opening the show, the actress who plays Madame Burrell, her name is Vianne Cox. Not the one you see in the film version, but the one who is in Paris and Broadway with us. She and I would, because the backstage area at the Châtelet is very big. And so we would hide behind set pieces and scare one another. And it was, I mean, there's like an age difference between us, and we were just playing like kids. And every time we wouldn't jump out and scare each other, because obviously if someone screamed during the show, that would be really unprofessional. So we would just like would just kind of like slowly peer behind the seats that we were on, and she'd go, "Oh!" And it was you know, just those silly little moments where you think, God, it's fun to do what we do. I mean, countless things that you know I could list off, but it's too many to remember at the moment. But it was so fun.
It's so amazing that you did it in the first day. You were so relaxed.
Oh, well, no, it took us, you know, well, when you go into a theater, you tech the show for like 3 weeks, right? And we were putting the show together. So there's a lot of time to wait. You're waiting for people to get lighting cues. And so that's when like the antics kind of start, is when like everybody's just sitting around, you know, waiting for their turn. But when it comes to showtime, it's like, you know, you got to deliver. And then you got to figure out how to have fun.
Right. Okay. So with the stage director, Christopher Wheeldon, did he say something, or did he give any advices to you to do your role before even starting it?
Absolutely. He, you know, he really wanted it to feel like a play with music and dance. I think he wanted it to be really grounded and rooted in reality. And sometimes when you break into song, it loses a bit of that groundedness, that humanity, reality. And it was, you know, he also was like, your body as a ballet dancer is different from a GI. And I think you should bulk up. I think you as a dancer should understand what the physicality would be like to be a soldier during wartime. And it's so true. It's the strength and the muscularity it takes to just lift heavy stuff just changes the way you approach movement. It has a little bit more bulk to it, a little bit more grit. And yeah, there's just little things like that that just kind of season over what you're doing. Staying real as a performer and as a dancer, learning how to physically embody the character.
Don't you lose your body balance with that if you become too big?
I never got like bodybuilder size, but also if you look at the GIs back in the day, they were slender. They weren't so bulky. There was like a coordination strength, a groundedness. So I wasn't trying to be like Arnold Schwarzenegger or anything. I was trying to just like dial it up a little bit.
Right. So talking about ballet, Japan is a country of ballet. There are so many kids learning and enjoying ballet, including my daughter. There are 4,630 schools in Japan, nationwide, ballet school. So, and there are more than like 40 million kids or people learning ballet or dancing, enjoying ballet.
Love that.
As a dancer, do you have any advices to these Japanese kids who are dreaming to become a dancer in the future?
Dance is so hard. It requires so much of your dedication and your will, and you don't have to wonder, should I be? It's like, if you're bit with the dance bug, you know, you're born a dancer. And so those questions of, should I be doing this? If you can go a day, a week, a couple days a week without dancing or not thinking about it, like, who knows, maybe you do it for fun. But if it's something that consumes your life, you have a duty, you have a responsibility to the dance gods to follow this passion, this drive, and that kind of drive is the only way to thrive in the dance community, because it requires a lot, and you all are so disciplined, so you're gonna take over the dance world by storm, I'm sure.
Nice. That's a good advice. So, and after watching the theatrical movie, I'm sure many people will become your fans again, or more fans of you. So, can you tell us a little bit of your future projects, or what you're now on, or could you tell a little bit of your current Robbie, sharing your current Robbie with us?
So, during the pandemic, I got really restless, and you can't go to a dance studio; they were closed. And as a dancer, there's only so many ballet bars you can do holding onto your kitchen stove, and you know what I mean, trying to stay in shape. I actually started a flower company because it was a way to stay creative, and I was surprised at how similar flower arranging is to performing. You go into a studio and you create, and then you bring it to the recipient or the audience. And it was actually when I was in London doing An American in Paris, I enrolled at the Covent Garden Academy of Flowers on a day off. And I loved it so much, it was like therapy. And so I started bartering free tickets for the show for free classes at the flower shop. And that's kind of how my love for flowers started. And I think just a piece of advice to all the dancers who have been struggling during this time, not having an outlet. We're creative people, and just because you don't get to use your body for a certain amount of time, whether you're injured or whatnot, doesn't mean that you don't have that ability to find joy and happiness and translate your love of movement. I translated that to movement of flowers and wanting them to dance inside the arrangement. And I think if you take that kind of creativity into everything you do, you'll be set, because also the life of a dancer isn't very long. And so it's trying to figure out how to take the skills that you've honed as a dancer and move them forward. Other stuff that I'm doing is I'm working on creating a bunch of projects, working with writers and composers, and being a little bit more on the creative side. But this November, I'm performing for Twyla Tharp at New York City Center with a bunch of dancers from New York City Ballet, and it'll be really fun.
That's wonderful, and good luck for that.
Thank you.
And so the last question would be, to the audience, the people who are watching this, I'm sure they're going to see the movie An American in Paris. Maybe some people watched the movie before. Maybe it's the first time they see even this, or didn't know the story for the first time. So could you share a little bit where they should watch, what to watch, and what part of you to watch? A little bit of a hint to enjoy the play more.
Well, it's going to be in the cinemas, right?
Right.
I mean, to be in a theater is so closely similar to being in a Broadway theater. The lights dim down. There's that anticipation before the movie starts, and I think you can achieve that at home too if you're watching it at home. But there's something about being around people and enjoying a theatrical experience. I think that's what we do as performers. We want to get people together. So whether you're sitting next to strangers, or you're getting your family together and sitting at your home, I think the greatest thing about what we do is we get to bring people together. My favorite part in the show is the scene at Gallery Lafayette, the perfume shop, because it feels like the most throwback Broadway moment, and it just makes me so happy to just get to let loose. It's the moment where I think Jerry realizes that he has something to live for, other than just his art, just him and his sketch pad and his paint canvas. He realizes there's somebody who makes him feel that hope again, after the PTSD of war. And I think that's, a timely feeling of reemerging for all of us into having more hope and more belief that we'll come out of this crazy time, and it'll be a distant memory. But yeah, that I think we all just want something to hope for and something to believe in, and I think you see that in that moment, especially.
Yeah, it's a wonderful timing to see that story. I think, especially in this moment of pandemic, or we're getting through it. So it's just a hard connection between the story, and it also relates, or there's a synchronicity, I think, between the story and the days we're living now. So
absolutely.
Yeah, I'm sure they're gonna like
trauma.
it.
Kind of trauma.
Well, thank you so much, Robbie, for your time. And that's for the interview.
I'm honored.
Yeah. Are you happy with the interview? Is it okay?
Yes, loved it. It was wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Okay.